So most times in my class, I do try to avoid politics, but sometimes we come across stuff that is just so juicy that I can't, help but talk about it. And it's actually relevant to our next topic of discussion, which is regular expressions. So first off, I love The Onion. The Onion is one of my favorite websites. It is the original fake news of actual fake news. For instance, this article from 1999, the Society for Creative Anachronism seizes control of Russia. Kremlin confirmed Tuesday that the Society of Creative Anachronism, a group of medieval war games hobbyists, seized control of Russia in a bloodless coup over the weekend. And that's a group that actually gets together and does a lot of role playing of medieval stuff, including heavy combat in actual armor with that's full contact. Steel helmets are necessary for this because otherwise you're going to get hurt. But anyway, my second favorite story that's my second favorite story. My favorite story on The Onion is this one. CIA realizes it's been using black highlighter all these years. Now, that. And this is, of course, the joke. The joke here is, of course, that that classified information in the United States is often redacted. This sometimes leads to and redaction's not actually trivial. Sometimes people mess it up, like significantly. Like I think in one of the recent cases dealing with the Russian investigation, some of the there was a redacted report, and some of the news reporters were able to find some information that should have been redacted because the defense attorneys decided to use they didn't replace the way they made the redaction was by basically just making the background black on the text so you could still highlight it and select it, which is great. So not great there. When you actually redact something, you want to redact it with something that can't be read. Okay. Better yet, if you redact it with just something that says redacted, right? Because then you can't tell how long the information is or what it was originally there, right? Now, this gets me into another thing where, like I said, where I'm going to dip into politics for a minute, and it's not because I'm picking on anybody in particular. It's just because this was a news story that happens when I started teaching about regular expressions, which was this that happened with Jeb Bush. Now, if you remember, Jeb Bush was one of the presidential candidates in the 2016 election, one of the first people to declare. It was pretty well known that he was going to run. He was the governor, and he'd been the governor of Florida for a while, and actually had made him. And one of the things that he did that was pretty awesome was make himself pretty accessible to people via email, right? So his email was there. He would respond to people who sent him emails, and in the spirit of transparency, he basically released his emails to the public. Unfortunately, when you're the governor of Florida, right? Florida's not necessarily well known for the people on the up and up. Now, part of this is actually the whole Florida man thing actually comes from the fact that Florida has some very generous transparency laws. So it's very easy to basically find so you get those good news stories about Florida man doing crazy thing because Florida man doing crazy thing gets posted as public knowledge, whereas in other states it's not necessarily the case. So, but anyway, but that being said, I do think there's something wrong with the water in Florida sometimes. So here, he posted the email. Some of them were really, really touching and stuff. But then you get stuff like this that was released. So here's an actual redaction that was done by The Verge. Blank. And notice it's a picture. I can't select any of this. Blank, R.E. blank to Jeb Bush. Dear Governor Bush, R.E. blank, SSN blank. What is SSN? Social Security number. Right? So Social Security number is one of those really weird things we have in the United States. And if you're coming from another country, it seems really that if you just look at it for any more than a minute, it's really stupid. It's essentially the United States, because of our federalized system, we are really opposed to having a centralized governmental ID or a centralized governmental ID number for various reasons. Okay? But companies but basically, when the Social Security number was like this, started out, basically everybody got a Social Security number, and the way that was that was tied into like. And before that, basically, it was kind of on the trust system for taxes as to how many children you've had. Oh, 14 children, you have been busy. So and you just hope that nobody would come and check that, you actually didn't have 14 dependents. So anyway, as a result, eventually what happened is that the Social Security got kind of tied in with the whole tax system. If you wanted to claim somebody as your dependent, you had to put down your Social Security number. And from there, it kind of spiraled out of control into a de facto government ID, if not de jure. My Social Security card is still old enough that says you do not use this for any ID purposes. Whereas my son's has completely removed that, right? Because it's kind of a lost point of this. So anyway, Social Security numbers are kind of like an ID, and they're an essential part of stealing one's identity. So if somebody can get it, and it's just kind of common knowledge that basically 5 minutes after you type your Social Security number on the net, somebody in Russia has it. So, anyway, Social Security number blank, right? This letter is to inform you regarding blank employment without, so this is kind of confidential information. Oh, similarly over here, this is about another thing over here. So Social Security number blank, Humana ID blank. Now, you can actually do some really nasty things once you start getting people's medical information and other stuff like that. There's a nice video on YouTube that's from DEF CON on how to kill a person legally, in the sense that you have the person declared dead in a legal sense, which causes all sorts of headaches. It's very hard to get any kind of governmental benefits when you're dead. And yes, you are there asking at the window, but the system says you're dead, and I'm so sorry. And you know how to get that resolved? You generally have to go to your representative, your senator, or your governor to get that result, to get them to kick that along the line. It gets pretty dang bad. So anyway, point being is that if you're in a position of power, you don't want to release some people's Social Security numbers. It just looks terrible. And it's not actually that hard to go through and redact Social Security numbers. In fact, I will tell you now, that has often been a question on my exams. Given a file, redact all the Social Security numbers from the file. And it's not too hard to do. But it can be a pain when you're trying to do it with this. In Python. Let's think about that for a second. We parse through everything until we get to a number, and then we ask, is this number followed by another number? Is it followed by another number? Let's talk for a second. What's the format for a Social Security number? It's 3 digits, followed by a dash, followed by 2 digits, followed by a dash, followed by 4 digits, right? So you'd have to look for digit, dash, then 4 digits, right? It's is the first number of 1 through 4. Okay, 1 through 9. If it is the thing 2 after it, 1 through 9. If it is the third thing 2 after it, 1 through 9. And then there's a dash, and then there's another, is it a 0? Oh, wait. No, is it 0? Can they actually start with 0? Yes, they can. Crud. We have to go back and rewrite the entire thing. Okay, so how do we go? Fortunately, there is a tool for this, and it is called regular expressions. Now, this is chapter 7 in the Automate Boring Stuff book. Now you're probably familiar. It mentions you're probably familiar with the whole find replace thing, like find regular expression, right? Highlight all. Oh no, don't words, just regular expression, right? And that will match basically everything in here. That matches regular expression. But a regular expression is more powerful than this find replace function. In fact, regular expressions are built into a lot of software, like Microsoft Excel or Office. In fact, this book says there's some debate among computer scientists that maybe the first thing I should do in an intro course is teach you regular expressions. I'm sorely tempted to do that because even if you drop the class after a couple weeks, at least you're still going to get something useful out of it then. All right? right? We know that the way that a phone number looks. It looks something like this, but this is not a phone number. And it makes a huge difference in the amount of power. So let's take a look at this program over here that he wrote that says, hey, is this piece of text a phone number? If it's not 12 characters long, great, it's not a phone number. Otherwise, I have to look through at the first 3 characters. Are they all decimal characters? If they're not all decimal characters, return false. Then I have to look at thing at index 3. If that's not a dash, return false. Then look at characters 4 to 7. And it's just big. It's not hard to parse, but you know. And then they run it, true, false. Right? So, now, the other thing to do, so now let's just go ahead and talk about how we would look for that in regular expressions. So I'm using a website called Regexer. It's actually quite nice. RGE, so REG in reg, and then EXR. So Regex. And that's the shorthand name for regular expressions. And basically we're going to look for text in here. So let's go ahead and take a look at putting and I'm just going to give you an example. I'm going to write a social security number over here, and I'm sorry if it's yours. 111-22-3333. So I'm sorry if that's yours. All right. So a regular expression that could match that, and that's going to be typed in between these slashes. Let me show you what that would look like. Dash dash slash d slash d slash d dash slash d slash d slash dash slash d. So that's it. That's all I have to do to match any thing that's in the social security number format. Which is, let me just simply read that out to you. Slash d is shorthand for digit. So it matches a digit, followed by another digit, followed by a third digit, followed by a dash, followed by 2 digits, followed by 4 digits. In fact, I can actually condense this a bit more by doing the following. 3 digits, right? So I use curly braces over here to say 3 digits. We want slash d. How many? I'd like exactly 3 of them, please. Followed by exactly a dash, followed by a slash d. And I'd like exactly 2 of them, followed by exactly 4 Ds. So fairly short way of doing that. And then we can then use functions built into Python then to use a replace all function if we run a regex on that, and we can replace all. Regexes are, by the way, supported by every single major programming language. They are also not taught in any class except for like the 4,000 level class for automata. This is because there's often, computer science professors often find there's no time. Also, it really only theoretically fits when we're talking about advanced stuff like discrete finite automata and Turing machines and that kind of stuff. But we're not getting into the theory here. Just know that there are limitations to the powers of regular expressions. Namely, regular expressions are extremely powerful, but they're limited if you're trying to do something that involves doing any kind of counting or memory, then a regular expression won't be able to do that. So that's the kind of limitation there. You need a programming language to do that, and maybe use some regular expressions as part of that. Okay? So let's go ahead and learn some rules for regular expressions before we start looking about how to implement them in Python, right? So let's just do a 20-minute crash course on the syntax of regular expressions, and then when we get back next week, we'll start learning about how they actually work. So first off, if I look for a regular expression and just use it, it will be like a regular find replace kind of deal. So if I want to look for the word A and D using regular expressions, it will match A and D. Okay. If I want to go ahead and look for something like this, like A space T, it will find A space T, right? So it will literally work like a find replace function, but with extra syntax added, which leads to some interesting things that we can see. So for instance, let's go ahead and search for dot .at. Cat, bat, mat, sat. Dot is the wildcard character in regular expressions. The dot is what we call a wildcard character, which means now this pattern matches something special. It says, hey, I will match anything followed by an A, followed by a T. Make sense to everybody so far? So rather than looking for period AT, it's looking and it says, oh, we've got EAT, we've got eat inside of created, we've got cat, mat, sat, we've got all these things, right? So any character followed by a lowercase a followed by a T. Make sense so far? So the dot, so it's just like using a find function, except it's got a bit more oomph added into it. So the first thing is that I want to just look for a dot, or I want to look for anything using the dot. If I want to look for an actual dot, any guesses as to how to do that? If I wanted to actually look for basically something that was a followed by a period, any guesses as to how to actually do that? Backslash. Escape character. Escape character will do that, right? Everything comes back around, right? So you know. All right. So, however, there is also some other fun stuff we can do with this. Let's see, what other... So there's other characters that have special kind of things that we can do. Let's see. So we can have... Let's see. So there are some words that... So now American English and British English are very, very similar, right? But there's some different spellings. For instance, in the United States, we spell color C-O-L-O-R, and in other language, in British English, I think it's spelled C with a U. Yes. Yep. So now that's kind of annoying to have to see if you're looking for color, right? And your document's written with British English, right? You might completely miss it because you're looking for the English for the American English, and it's written in British English. But regular expressions are here to say, hey, we can totally handle that with something called, with that whole curly brace notation that we were using earlier, right? So normally in a find, if you're using Control F, you'd have to go between color or color, right? Right? But with regular expressions, what we can do is I can say you, and then I can specify there's between at least 0 of them and at most 1 of them. So notice this. Over here it says 0, at least 0 or 1 of. So that's curly braces are actually kind of really useful. Right? So at least 0 of this one and at least 1 of those. Right? So, right, if I didn't have anything there, it would be like, if this would say exactly 1 U, this would say exactly 0 U's in there, which is kind of useless. But we can say between 0 and 1 inclusive there. That's pretty cool. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do a quick review then. If I wanted to write a regular expression that matched a telephone number, any telephone number, how could I do that? Right, so first off, what does a telephone number look like in the United States? Let me go ahead and write one that looks 123 dash 123 dash. Yep, let's go ahead and do the old 555 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So if I wanted to get something that matches that, right? How could I do that? So /D to match the first 3, right? Followed by a dash, followed by 3 more D's, which I could just use this notation for instead, right? Right, and a /D means we're not looking for a backslash and then a D. This is literally like a /n, except it's something else. It's saying this is match any digit, specifically 3 of them, followed by a dash, followed by a digit, match 3 of them, and then followed by 4 more of them. Okay, so we're good, right? And you may notice by the way I asked that as a question, probably not, right? Because that's not the only way we do phone numbers. What are some other ways you might see a phone number? So one at a time. Parentheses around the area code.
Like toll-free number with
1 at the beginning for the U.S. country code. Yes. 01. Oh yeah. So country code as well. Yeah. Any country code. Extensions. It actually gets quite complicated at some point, right? So the way we deal with stuff is that, and I'm going to go ahead and boot up idle over here to use this. To use regular expressions, we're going to need a library, okay? We're going to need a library in called RE, short for regular expressions, right? And so import RE. So that gives us RE. And what we'll do is that what we're going to do is we're going to create regex objects, which are basically pattern matching, which are basically little small programs that do pattern matching for us. So to do the original regex, so what we can do is something like this. So let's go ahead and write this line in. Phone regex is equal to re.compile. We compile a regular expression. And then there's this weird thing over here. R quote. R before the string. Looks like I might have to talk about that once we've put this in. So R quote slash, okay, it seems to like it, slash D slash D slash D dash slash D slash D slash D dash 4Ds. End quote. Okay. Okay, so let's just talk about this before we go on. What is this R quote, right? Now remember, if we're dealing with strings, we have the whole idea of an escape character, right? So if I want to print out a single slash, I need to use 2 backslashes, right? Or is these forward slashes? Forward slashes. Flashes. All right. Except that did 1 there. So, let's see, slash a. Or let's see, slash a slash, because Python is super useful like that. All right. But and notice that I'm having issue just printing out 1 single slash, right? It is like just fighting me tooth and nail printing out 1 single slash. I just want to print out 1 slash. Just 1. So that's where the R comes in, which stands for raw string, which is literally what you print out in here is what you're going to get. No escape characters, no nothing. So I can do slash n, and it will literally print out /sn, right? It's a raw string, right? And if I print out this string, I'll get that, right? Whereas if I print it out without the R, /n, Am I doing it wrong? Am I using the wrong backslashes?
No, sometimes it's doing that when it's not coming from a file.
Oh!
I had some people where they didn't escape on the token to do.
Let's go ahead and...
In the middle of a string maybe already. It's a little thing going on here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, it's happened before.
A plus, so let's go ahead and just say space plus X. Interesting. What in the world is going on there? Well, regardless, the entire point of a /n is that normally, if I didn't have the R leading, I'd have to do \\d, \d, \d, which would get very, very old very, very, very quickly. So raw strings, you don't need the escape characters. All right. So then what we can do is that we can use the regex that we wrote to do this. Match object is equal to phone regex dot search. My number is 111-222/333. And what we can do there, right? So we're applying the regular expression that we wrote to this string. And then we can ask MO, the match object, group, did it find anything? And it says, I found that match in there. So it ends up being a very short program to basically we needed just 3 lines. Import, compile the regular expression, apply the regular expression to the string I wanted to search, which is very, very, very powerful. Okay. Now, what I can do, so overall, what I can do with that is then I can say, let's see, replace. Yep. Okay. So let's go ahead and then take a look at basically I'm going to leave you off with one last example. So let's go ahead and create another regular expression object. Let's create a SSN regex is equal to re dot compile. And so the regular expression for a so the regular expression for a social security number was /d, so 3 digits followed by a dash followed by 2 digits. Oh, and let me add the R over here. 3 digits followed by a dash followed by 2 digits followed by 4 digits, right? And now, what I can do is I can say SSN regex dot sub, and I want to replace the regex with redacted. Hi Nigerian King, my SSN is 123-45-678-9. And so that would give me now sub my hi Nigerian King, my social security number is now redacted. Anything that follows that format will now be redacted. If you're not familiar with that reference, the old 419, the old scam of getting people money was saying, "Hey, I'm a Nigerian king or prince or something, and I would like to launder a lot of money in your bank account. Just give me access to your U.S. bank account, please. Just send your checking numbers this way, your checking and routing number this way. Promise nothing bad will happen." All right. So as you can see, though, this would work over a entire file. So last thing before I let you go, let's go ahead and see. And my wife's is 987-65-4321. So it's not just doesn't just apply to one. It will reply to any string of text that matches that pattern, and to remove both basically mine and my wife's, and so now we aren't showing our social security numbers to everybody in the world, right? So, this basic script would have saved a heck of a lot, or something like this, would have saved a heck of a lot of headache. If you could just, obviously they were also formatted in Outlook files, so it was a bit more difficult than that. But the point being is that using this regular expression matching thing is a very powerful tool. So once we're done with the Hurricane program, this is where we're going to do, and we're going to start looking at the English language in a very new light. Like asking, so how many words end in ION and how many end in ING, and what's that, and how that compares with. All right, so have a great weekend.